Paresh Parab. He is the presenter for today. So that's Paresh. He's the Assistant Conservator of Forests. Please carry on.
Yeah, well,
So your
I'll be
slide is
talking
on.
something about animals which are being hated by many. There are few people who like snakes, and I was fascinated by this beautiful animals because uh, my sister, elder sister, was interested in seeing this animals closely. So that's how I learned snake handling when I was somewhere in 8th standard. Uh, the title of the topic means of today's presentation, I thought of giving it as understanding unblinking beauties, because that is one thing which is most captivating about this animal is they don't blink, so that because they don't have a eyelid like us, so it looks very scary. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes, 1 minute. I'm trying
Yeah,
everything to get it. It's not moving. Hold on a minute. Yeah. Is that the second one? Or have I jumped?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the second one. Yeah, correct. What happens is with this beautiful animals in Western Ghat forest, especially the entire stretch from starting from Gujarat to Kerala, we have a huge diversity of this snakes, and they range from few centimeters to say around 4 meters. Sometimes more than you come across pythons which are around nearing 5 meters and or so. But what is happening with people is because we don't know things about these animals, uh, we have developed that fear, right? Next, please. So let's try to understand them. Let's try to understand this beautiful animals. We have so many of them and so many different colors. Because of the fear, people don't observe them carefully. Or if they observe also, they observe certain things which are not required. Like, if you, when we start talking about snakes, the first snake comes to your mind is the cobra, with its hood raised up. Very few people know that when the cobra is standing with its hood up, it's scared of you. It's trying to tell you, leave me alone, right? And many people feel that it is trying to attack you. They are not interested in humans. Humans are not their natural food, right? So if you get into the beautiful world of snakes, you will find very beautiful patterns, very nicely arranged scales, very nicely colored snakes which blend with the surroundings, and it's very interesting to see them, right? The earlier slide which I showed you about a king cobra, the previous one, yeah. This was I photographed this one back back please. Venkat, can you? No, no. Yeah. Okay. This was photographed in Kotigao. Uh, anyway, I'll talk about the particular slide. It was a huge king cobra. It's around 4 meters 40 centimeters. You know. And this lady was, when we were releasing it, I got this picture. This beautiful animal has got a poison which can kill an elephant. Poison is so toxic, and it's neurotoxic. But they are rarely they come across humans, and rarely people get beaten by this particular snake. We have them in Goa, and they are in the best form seen in Goa. This year, we rescued something around 8 of them in Molem, Bhagwan Mahavir National Park, adjacent uh, villages adjacent to the park. Sometimes they stray into human settlement in search of, rat snakes, or young monitor lizards. So this is the season for the monitor lizard young ones to be around, and that's favorite food for king cobras. So they come in conflict with people in these areas, very close to Mole, Sakoda, Kure, Shigawa. These are the places, and we rescued almost 8 of them this year. Once we rescue, we put them back into the forest, deeper forest, so that uh, they can, the conflict is mitigated, right? Next, please.
What is the territory of the king
Can we
cobra?
go to the next
Harish?
slide, please, Venkat?
Yeah, 1 minute. Sorry.
Well, it varies from area to area, Venkat.
Uh-huh.
What is happening is, if you go to Agumbe, the territory of the king cobras are it's maybe smaller, but here it may be bigger. It varies depending on the food availability. There are so many factors. Then anthropogenic presence in the area, all those factors. I'll share you something very interesting about a king cobra which we have experienced recently. We rescued one king cobra female, and we released her in one area. And after 5 days, we get another call from another ward of a village. We go there, staff goes, catches one king cobra again, okay, and then they get the animal there. So I told my staff, okay, we have released one there, don't release it there, but you can take it further. So they go there, and then they're about to release, they are setting up whole thing for release. The rescued king cobra is in the back, and suddenly a wild king cobra comes from nowhere towards the staff. So that was something which was they have never witnessed, you know. And the wild king cobra was quite a big. So my staff somehow managed to release the rescued one, and they were just hanging around there in the leaf litter for some time. This was during the first lockdown. It was very interesting. So I shared it with some of the herpetologists, Dr. Varad and all, just to find out what is this behavior, because we have not seen this behavior. Maybe because of some pheromones. But as far as territory is concerned, king cobras in Goa have not been studied so far to understand their territory nature. But we have seen recently one king cobra in the month of July chasing a python in a pool of water. We saw actually a king cobra chasing a python, a small
What's
python.
happening?
Paresh, you're breaking up. Sorry. You'll have to repeat the last bits.
Yeah, Vidhu, it's for Dafu Yadambu.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Is it clear now?
a little bit.
clear now?
A little bit better. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
I was,
Now you're breaking up again.
I was mentioning about the king cobra.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I was mentioning about the king. Yeah. Mentioning about the king. Territorial. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Coming back to the topic.
Can I request everybody to mute yourselves, please? I think maybe.
Okay, I'll stop my video.
Yeah. Now that is better now. Yeah. Yeah. So all
Yeah.
the participants, please mute yourselves.
Can you?
Now we can.
I'll just stop my video. So
Yes.
that,
Now you're clear.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking about king. There is very less study on king in the forest of Goa. Not much, except for the distribution pattern. There's a lot of scope for studying king cobras in Goan forest, right? And previous slide. Can you go back to the previous slide, please?
This one?
Poisonous. People believe that all the snakes are poisonous. There are cases wherein people have seen snake biting them, and people have died. Some persons have died of cardiac arrest just seeing a snake biting. This has happened with one of my friend. But in reality, all snakes are not poisonous, and only 4 snakes which are there, which are commonly poisonous snake. That is cobra, common cobra, krait, soft scale viper, and Russell's viper. Among all these 4, the maximum snake bite cases are from Russell's viper, and the bite from this animal is quite fatal because they have very long fangs, which are retractable fangs. Well, we'll go to the poisonous snake later. We'll talk about non-venomous snake here. If you see a non-venomous snake, we have a lot of them. Some of them are ground snakes, some are arboreal in nature, right? Some are nocturnal, some are diurnal. If you see in arboreal snakes, some of them are very beautiful. Like one in this slide, if you see the golden back flying snake, or ornate snake as it is called, this particular snake is found in entire Western Ghat in Goa, and it's very beautiful. The pattern on the body is very beautiful, and this particular snake glides from one tree to other tree, and it's very good climber. They're very fast, very swift climbing. The other snake just adjacent to it, wolf snake, which looks like a krait, in the pattern looks like a krait. It resembles, but it is, if you minutely observe, the white bands on the snake, it starts from the head and it fades towards the tail. We will be having I have another slide which will show you how to differentiate between a wolf snake and a common krait. Then we have a water snake, right? Buff striped killback, what we call. Again, a non-poisonous, harmless snake, which is found very close to water bodies where there is a lot of moisture and a lot of frogs around. It feeds on frog. And then we have the grass snake, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? These are all non-venomous snake, what we see. Next. Yeah. Now, if you see this, these are burrowing type of snakes. They're mostly in the ground. The lowermost 2 are the boas, okay, earth boa and sand boa there. And then we have a blind snake, the pale color snake, and then the shield tail. If you look at this particular snake, which is ochre color with black marking on the back, the tail is like a shield, it is flattened tail. This animal is found, this particular snake is mostly in the leaf litter and found in, they're very choosy about their habitat. Okay, slightest change in the environment, maybe even a forest fire which has taken place in dry season, the animal will just leave that area, vacate that area. They don't prefer to be in those type of areas where there is anthropogenic presence. And these are all non-poisonous snake. The biggest non-poisonous snake, which is widely seen throughout Goa and Western Ghat, is python. What Indian rock python, what we call. And there are a lot of misconception about this snake. Like we had this guest who had come to the park, and senior officer from revenue services, and he had one question. We had just rescued a python, and he said, "Don't stand in front of the python." He was cautioning my staff, because the python opens its mouth and it can just suck human being inside. So this type of misconceptions are there, which is not true. If they could suck like that, they could have been used for so many other work. In reality, what python does is it bites, it strangulates its prey, and then it swallows it. It starts it eats whatever small chicken or a small bird or a small pigling dog or a cat or a small deer, and it can swallow a full-grown spotted deer. We have seen one in our forest. Python, it had killed a spotted deer, and it was swallowing. In the process of swallowing, just it had killed maybe a few hours before. It had strangulated its prey, but it took him 3 days to swallow full deer, and it was there lying motionless because it could not move from that area. It was huge, right? So when they eat, they remain motionless for days together till the whole prey gets digested. Once the prey digests, they can digest it. They regurgate furry balls with some bones inside, right? And these are like big pellets, like how owls also regurgate, you know. And once they eat, it's not like other animals. They want to eat. They don't want to eat every day. Like they give a gap depending on how much they consume, because their metabolic rate is very slow. So they take a lot of days to digest it and again go for a next hunt or a next feed. You know, many people feel it's easy to catch a python. They do that. They see on YouTube or videos or whatever WhatsApp videos, they go and catch pythons. Sometimes you see people putting it around neck. Let me tell you a word of caution here. This particular animal, if it is not from a forest area, if it is from a settlement, human settlement, they carry a dangerous bacteria called salmonella on their body, right? So if you are handling a snake, you can get a zoonotic disease from this animal. So you have to take all the precautions when you are handling any animal, right? I just thought of mentioning, I'm not scaring you off, but I just thought of mentioning this because people get carried away with those videos and they want to show their enthusiasm. They want to just go and grab, when the rescuers, they rescue snake, they just want to take a picture by holding a python in their snake in their hand or a python in their hand. You can get into a problem, right? Secondly, if you see the legal aspect of it, pythons are Schedule 1 animal, right? They have highest level of protection as per Wildlife Protection Act. So we get a lot of people who are snake friends, right? They catch animal, they keep it with them for some days. They want to do a proper photo shoot or they want to show it to their friends, which is a serious crime, right? Keeping an animal like python, which is Schedule 1, in your house, and if you're booked, it is like 7 years imprisonment, right? So Schedule 1 species you should not meddle with. If you inform the forest department, they have their rescuers, they will come and rescue. Some rescuers are registered with us who are civilians. They come and rescue and release them back into the wild. This animal is very interesting because they lay eggs and the female will coil around its eggs and it will remain there incubating the eggs, right? And we have seen, we have rescued sometimes female with a heap of eggs from different parts, and then we have done incubation artificially, and we have released back those hatchlings into the forest. Next, please. This is a non-poisonous animal. Python is a non-poisonous snake. So, but if they're cornered, they give a very, very nasty bite. Then we have this again, some of the very beautiful snake. This one particular photograph taken by Samir Kahimkar from Bombay of a tree snake, bronze back tree snake. If you see, it's very beautiful, a copper color snake. This is named after one of my friend, Dr. Bharat Giri. So it's called as Dendrolepis giri. He happened. It was named after him. It's a new species. It's a tree snake, arboreal snake, and just to share with you, all the arboreal snakes, tree snakes, they have a long tail. Okay, they have a very long tail. That actually tail helps them to climb trees, move on the trees, or when they're jumping from one tree to other tree also, that helps to maintain their balance. You know, the next snake, the green one, what you see there is a very common snake. It was very common in Goa, but in recent times, their number is going down. And like we used to see them often, or we go on a nature trail and we could see green whip snakes or a wine snake. Locally, it's called as a riari in Konkani, but it was very common. And we were trying to find out what is the reason why their numbers are going down. And finally, we are focused on number of increase in number of peafowl in our forest, which was not there earlier. In Goa, we were not having so much of peafowls. They have number has increased. Even in dense forests, we are seeing peafowls. So small observations like this can tell you about so many things, so much about the forest. Like when we were observing green whip snakes in forest, we have seen them in the late in the evenings or night, sleeping on the outermost branches in the bushes, not very high from ground, just 1.5 meter from the ground and all. But in recent times, we don't get to see them, right? Then again, when we look at the peafowl, we have realized the jackal population has changed in Goa. The jackals, I'm just sharing this with you because this is one interesting observation which I've seen. The jackal population has gone down again. The reason for that is not known. Maybe it is because of stray dogs or some of the diseases transmitted by stray dogs to jackal, canine distemper, parvo, and so many other diseases. The jackal population has gone down, and with that, the peafowl population has gone up. And because the peafowl population has gone up, green whip snakes are not seen so much around, right? Another snake which is there just below green whip snake is a banded kukri, right? Again, a non-poisonous snake. We can go to the next. Yeah, this is the most common snake what you see around villages, around settlements, and it's very easy to identify. They're pretty long, and if you look at the facial markings, the markings on the lips, just above lips, those black lines and the scale which looks like a dentition. This is a harmless snake called rat snake, right? Locally, people call it duod here, and they grow to quite a good size. And this is a favorite food of king cobras. King cobras just love feeding on rat snakes. Rat snakes are very fast. They're very fast moving. They are bright. The underbelly is quite bright, and many times I've seen people uploading videos of a combat dance of rat snakes on WhatsApp and saying that cobras are mating or whatever. It's actually a combat dance. Two males come together and they fight for the territory. They coil around each other and they try to pin down. Whoever wins will claim that territory, right? It's very interesting. And rat snake is a very harmless snake, and if you have it around, it's actually a boon because they keep a check on the rat population around. So earlier time there was a story with villagers. Villagers used to say if you have a rat snake and it resides in your house for a day or a night, you become rich. The concept was very interesting, and the main reason behind that is the earlier population was mostly into farming. So if a rat snake is in your house, it will eliminate rats, and the rats number, if it decreases, the pest problem, if you, people used to store a lot of paddy, the pest problem is controlled. So that's how you become rich, right? Next, please. Again, king cobras, beautiful animal. If you get to see this animal, this snake, it's very beautiful. It has an attitude, when you see it in wild, and it's very shy, secretive in habit, uh, but it is not very commonly seen, right? Recently, Dhritiman Mukherjee, a famous photographer who happened to come to Mole, he wanted to shoot one king cobra. I said, it's very difficult, but we'll try. And luckily, we got one, and he filmed it. It was very beautiful footage he got for king cobra in Mole. Now, this particular snake, in Latin name, it is called as Ophiophagus hanna, because Ophio is snake and Phagus is eating. So this snake prefers most of its diet as snake, but they do take monitor lizards. They eat monitor lizards. They are good climbers, and they are good on ground also, terrestrial. They are highly territorial. The males are territorial, and female will build nest, by collecting leaf litter, and that leaf litter is made into a pile where she lays eggs. And again, there were stories that female is very aggressive when it is on the nest and all. Generally, when the mother is with, you know, uh, eggs or young ones, they are aggressive by nature. But we have seen king cobras on the nest. They are not so aggressive. They are not so aggressive, right? That's what we have seen in Goa. And yeah, poison is neurotoxic. Poison is neurotoxic. It affects on central nervous system. There are very few cases. I remember just one case in South Goa in Kankona, where uh, the girl was bitten by a king cobra, and they called it, means they refer it as nagin there, and the girl has seen it biting it. She was bitten on the leg uh, when she was in the forest with her cattles. She was with the cattles there. Yeah, yeah. Next, please. Yeah, this is Naja. Naja is the common cobra or spectacle cobra, and if you see, it is believed all the snakes which are having round pupil are poisonous. That is what is believed, which is not true. There are other snakes also non-poisonous having a round pupil, and it's very difficult because when people come across snakes, it's very difficult to look at the snake so closely, right? Especially poisonous snakes like cobra. But this particular snake, common cobras, they are mostly around the paddy field. Wherever there is good sizable population of rats, they'll hang around in that area because the food is a main criteria. Poison is neurotoxic. The quantity of poison is less. But if you see in the snakes, the fangs are fixed. They are not like vipers. Their fangs are fixed, right? And the fangs are very small, not long fangs. The fangs are very small. Now, you must have been wondering why this when the snake is scared, it raises its hood and it spreads its hood. It gives a hissing sound. All this is a self-defense mechanism which is developed in snakes. It is trying to tell people to keep away from uh, away from the snake. At the same time, it is guarding itself. Guarding in the sense, The natural predator for this snake is mongoose and other smaller cats, which preys on cobras. So when it is showing that it's larger than what it is by spreading its hood, there is a mark behind. In this cobra, in this picture, you don't see that mark. You do get snakes wherein the mark is not there, or sometimes the mark is distorted, right? Uh, so people come with photographs showing that this is something special. There is no mark on the snake's hood. In reality, that particular mark is, it's a eye spot. There are two eye spots. When it is, the hood is raised up, those eye spots are quite distinctly visible. When it is visible, the predators, they avoid attacking from that area because they mistake it for eyes. Those eye spots, they mistake it for eyes and they try to attack it from front. So vision, the attack from behind is less in this snakes by the predators. Especially if you see a fight between a cobra and a mongoose, or a cobra and a civet, they try to attack it from front, right? Poison again is neurotoxic. If a person gets bitten by a cobra, neurotoxic poison is injected in the body, you need not worry so much. If you take first aid properly and go to the nearest hospital, it can be treated. There is even king cobra bite can be treated, right? The poison sometimes, when snake bites, many times poison is not injected; it's a dry bite. Sometimes poison is injected, but it spills out. It's not in the body, right? So many things are happening. So first and foremost is one has to take proper first aid, and first aid, earlier it was believed that you have to try a tourniquet and all that, which has been proved it's not correct to try a tourniquet. Okay, you have to try flat bandage, and it should not be very tight. There should be circulation of blood, because when people tighten it to such an extent that no blood circulation goes to that affected part, and the gangrene sets in, right? So anti-snake venom is available in the hospitals, and that is the only treatment right now for treating snake bites, poisonous snake bites, right? Next, please. Yeah, here you can see those eye spots very clearly on the hood. And if you see the backside of the cobra, you can see it more distinctly. So that is the place where animal predator concentrate when it is trying to attack, thinking that those are eyes. Actually, if you see, the eyes are very tiny on top of the head, and many times the snakes cannot see what is there behind, what is approaching behind. Like, we have cases wherein we are putting a snake hook from behind to catch. They don't understand because the vision is restricted, right? So sometimes people come out with us very funny questions. Like, we get these questions. The snakes, they have this black bands on the body underside, and in Goa especially, they say, like, if that snake has got 3 black bands and 3 wodi, so they say 3, or they call it as wodi, okay? And depending on the number of band, the toxicity of poison is measured. That is what people believe in, which is wrong, right? That is just a marking due to some pigmentation in the snake. There's nothing, no relation with this marking with the toxicity or quantity of poison in the snake's body, right? Then again, there are a lot of stories. People say, like, we have a cobra in our area for last 80, 90 years. No, they have a very small lifespan, right? They don't live for that long. Sometimes people come with belief saying that we have a cobra which is old and it has grown hair on its body, on its head and all, which is all nonsense. Nothing like that happened. It's a cold-blooded reptile. It has scales all over its body. That's an epidermal outgrowth found on reptiles. They cannot regulate their body temperature, right? So they have to rely on nature for regulating body temperature, right? Next, please. This is a very common poisonous snake, and I put this picture because I just wanted to show you that that you should not mistake it for a python, right? There was a case in Goa in Bardez. One boy who was working on ship, he came down and then he saw this snake early morning behind his house, and he caught it thinking it's a python. It was fine because snake was lethargic. Early in the morning, he could catch it by its neck. When he was handling it, he was showing it to other people around, neighbors and all. Snake bit him. First on his right hand, sorry, on left hand. And then when he was trying to, you know, remove it, uh, trying to get away from the bite, he was bitten in the right hand. He lost one hand, the left hand he lost, right hand he lost from the wrist onwards, and you know it's a person is a handicap now by just making a wrong decision of handling the snake. So my request to all those who are watching this presentation, give respect to these animals, don't meddle with them, and you should know to identify. Even if you have a good intention to rescue a snake, you should know to identify snake before physically handling these animals, right? Now this particular snake I was talking about is Russell's viper. If you see, it has got that arrow type head, you know, distinct neck, and these markings, right? These markings are very clear, uniform marking on the body. Poison is hemotoxic. Poison is hemotoxic, and it affects on the blood, right? Fangs are movable, retractable fangs. It's not like common cobra. Their fangs are not fixed. They're movable, and they are quite big. Fangs are quite big. This particular snake is, it gives enough warnings before it strikes, right? It gives a hissing sound which is very loud and tells a person to keep away, right? So this is a self-defense mechanism the snake has. Now, hemotoxic poison, what exactly happens with it is, in case of snakes with hemotoxic poison, it affects on the blood. A person bitten by the snake will have bleeding from the wound, okay? If there is a huge quantity of poison injected in the body, the bleeding also starts from gums, sometimes in nostril also. There will be local swelling at the wound site, right? And severe pain. So these are the symptoms, right? There is anti-snake venom available for this, and there is already set protocol for treatment protocol for this snake bite, and there are people who have recovered easily. First aid is very important. One should take the proper first aid. Okay, just to share with you, if you come across, if you encounter, or if you get bitten by any animal, snake or a dog or a cat or a monkey, okay, the first and foremost thing what you have to do is wash that wound under running water with soap for 10 minutes. Okay, this is the first and foremost thing. Wash it under running water with soap, right? Do not cut. If it is a snake bite, do not make incision, do not squeeze blood out of it, do not suck blood out of the wound site. You know, if the wound site is on the hand or a leg, you can manage it there. But when you try to suck, normally they show it in movies and all, they suck blood and then spit it out. That doesn't happen in reality. If person tries that stunt, we have so many cuts and ulcers in our mouth, the poison can enter through that, and then there is no way you can treat it. So do not try to meddle with the wound. Just wash it under running water, tie a flat bandage. When you tie bandage also, two fingers should slide under the bandage. It should not be very tight, right? And then you go to the nearest hospital where anti-snake venom is available. Government hospitals, they have anti-snake venom. We get a lot of cases of Russell viper bite during the harvest season, when the paddy being harvested, because wherever there are rats, this snake will be found in that locality. So, and this snake is crepuscular. It prefers to move around early in the morning and late in the evenings. You can see the snake. It looks very beautiful. When if you see it, it's really beautiful. Don't mistake it as for a python. Pythons have irregular markings on their body. They do have the head, triangular head, but they have irregular markings on their body, right? This is Russell's viper, locally called as Gonus in Goa. Sometimes some people in South Goa, they call it Agio Mindor also. So, and many times you can see them on the beach also. Wherever there is intact sand dunes, they are there in that area searching for gerbills, the smaller rats. Next, please. These are not so common snakes found in Goa. They are there in Goa, but not so commonly found. They are mostly in a dense forest. The hump-nosed peat viper is again another viper which is very small. It's just a feet length. It is in the leaf litter. It's very difficult to spot them in the leaf litter. They blend with the surroundings so well that sighting them is very difficult. And they have a hemotoxic poison, very small quantity of poison. Some research is being done on their venom to understand the toxicity, because some researchers say that they have very toxic venom. Then we have the Malabar peat viper. In Malabar peat viper, it's a snake which is found in a dense forest, mostly in the shrubs. Very again blending with the surroundings, and you get different coloration in these pit vipers. Now they are called as pit vipers because in between the nostril and the eye there is a small depression, a pit, okay, and that pit has a thin membrane inside which helps them detect about the surroundings, right? Another interesting thing I want to just share with you about snakes is, you have seen most of the snake, they flicker their tongue out, they keep on flickering. Very few people know that what exactly means, why they are flickering their tongue. It is not to scare you off, right? It is trying to understand about the surroundings. The forked tongue which comes out from the mouth, it collects sand particles. This happens in a nanosecond. Okay, it collects sand particles, and when it takes it inside, the tongue goes inside in the mouth. In the buccal cavity, in the roof of the mouth, there is an organ called Jacobson's organ. Okay, and that is a world's best laboratory. The tongue goes inside and it fits, the forked tongue goes and fits into that Jacobson organ and sends all the collected data from the surrounding, okay, into the Jacobson organ for analysis. Okay, that's how snake comes to know whether there is a prey very close to the animal, very close to the snake in the surrounding area, what is the temperature differences around, it's lot of data is collected by this tongue. So it's a very scientific process. When they flicker tongue, it is not to scare you off, but it is the way of living for them, right? Next, please. Now these are some of the lookalikes I thought of sharing these pictures. Uh, if you see in this uh, saw scale viper, we have spoken about now. Just to sum up, we have spoken about king cobra, we have spoken about common cobra, which are neurotoxic poison, both the snakes. Then we have spoken about Russell's viper, saw scale, Humpnose pit viper, and Malabar pit viper. And then we have saw scale viper. This snake is a very small snake, prefers to live in a dry, arid areas where there is, especially on lateritic plateaus, and they hunt on smaller lizards, small frogs. They are poisonous, saw scale vipers. I'm talking about saw scale viper. If you see in this picture, and they are very small, not like Russell's viper. They are very small, but the poison is toxic. The poison quantity is less, but it's toxic, hemotoxic poison. It affects on blood. And here in this, there is one more snake called common cat snake, which imitates saw scale viper. In its habit, also it imitates, right? It will coil, it will make all that patterns. The looks are also like saw scale viper. But if you see, these common cat snakes are longer, much longer. They have large head scales on their head, which is conspicuous. You can see in common cat snake, large head scales are there. Whereas in saw scale viper, there are no head scales. They're very tiny scales, right? That's how you can differentiate. And saw scale viper gives a loud hissing sound again. Okay, even with the moving of the scales, when they coil, when they sense a danger, they start moving in one peculiar pattern, S pattern, and the scales create sound of hissing. So common cat snake has a mild venom which doesn't affect humans. It is normally for smaller prey, and the venom is very mild. It's not so, yeah. So saw scale viper, these are the common poisonous snakes: saw scale viper, Russell's viper, common cobra, and then we have left with krait. Next, please. Next. So I was talking about krait. Here, if you see, this is again a look-alike wolf snake. I had shown earlier one picture, and again here I'm showing. This wolf snakes, they imitate common kraits. We don't have banded kraits in Goa. That's in a dry part of India, but we have common kraits. Now, interesting thing about this common krait is this snake is nocturnal. It moves around at night. It has a poison which is combination of neurotoxic and hemotoxic, which is, very powerful venom. If a person is bitten by the snake, the local symptoms starts very slow, not like other poisonous snake. Other poisonous snake, when person gets bitten, the swelling starts, the pain starts, But in this krait bite, the symptoms are very slow. You get the puncture mark, you feel the pain when they're puncturing the body. Fangs are very short, fixed fangs. Okay, and they prefer to be in a pile of stones or brick piles, wherever there is a lot of debris which is dumped. They also feed on rats. Now you look at the pattern on their body. In case of wolf snake, you see there is a mark. The stripes start from the head. Just on the neck there is a stripe, black, right? And then it fades as it goes towards the tail. In case of wolf snake, which is a non-poisonous snake. But in case of krait, the markings are very prominent towards the tail, and it fades as it comes towards the head. So this is a peculiar difference to differentiate between a common krait and a wolf snake, right? Now, common krait is not so aggressive snake. is not so aggressive snake. When I say not so aggressive in the sense, even there are cases wherein people have stepped on it and walked and the snake has not bothered to bite, So they are lethargic like, not so aggressive, uh, but the their poison, as I told you earlier, neurotoxic and hemotoxic combination has a very bad effect on the person's body, right? So you should know to identify, because when many times we get cases, rescue calls wherein uh, people mistake wolf snake for crates. Next, please. Why we react when we talk about snake? Why do we react? It's the first reason. What I feel is because of ignorance. We don't know so many things. We feel that all snakes are poisonous. We think that they will chase, like Bollywood is also responsible for that in India, because the Nag and Nagin and all those movies, they have created fear psychosis in people, wherein you are shown a cobra taking a picture of a human being, and registering it for years together, and then coming and chasing and biting. All that nonsense has been shown. Uh, Snakes have very tiny brain. You know, if I start taking one quiz after the presentation is over, with your 1300 cc brain, you won't be remembering so many things what I've already spoken. So snakes with a tiny brain, how it can remember people and all that? It's all nonsense what they show in the movies. So ignorance is why we react. Myths and beliefs which are there, okay? And many people, they know, they respect snake, but they are scared of the looks. That's because they don't blink. And we humans, when we see an animal, we look into the eyes, right? We look at the face first. We look at the face. And when snake look at you, it looks like as if it is staring with anger, because it's not blinking. But within that unblinking snake, there is a beautiful animal which we sideline, we ignore, and we just concentrate on its eyes, and then get that fear, and then we try to run, shout, scream, throw things at the animal or hit whatever, you know. Then of course we have been told that all snakes are poisonous, so venomous bites. That is why these are some of the reasons I thought of listing down. This is why we react, right? So we are all scared of death. So most of the people are scared of death. So snakes means death. That is what is believed. The person who is interacting with you now, me, Paresh, I was bitten by a cobra. I have survived a cobra bite. Okay, just by taking proper first aid and medication, not by all those jadi buti and all those things. No, it's just by proper first aid. I've survived a cobra bite, and all the activities, whatever I do, is normal. No amputation anywhere, no deformities, just by taking proper first aid and uh, medical attention. Next, please. This, I thought of sharing this slide. Uh, Dr. Varad had sent me this slide, and that's something which is very interesting, which was making just 4 years back, it was making rounds. Then people, India, we are very creative. So the people started adding more heads, and finally, this is what we see. And people try to send you these pictures asking, "Arey, did you see this was in Karmal Ghat, this was in Cholla Ghat, this was in Anmod Ghat." So every time you see a new picture, it was like another head added to it. So I thought of sharing this. The snakes do. This is now king cobra. If you see the first picture, it is just roadside somebody has taken, but creative people have changed it, photoshopped. But there are accidents wherein the accident in the sense deformities we have come across, like Russell Viper uh, uh, with two heads, like how it happens with in humans also, sometimes in cattle also, in piglings, you get in dogs also. So similarly, there are accidents. The freaks are there with two heads, but they don't survive for long. They get eliminated. But this is all photoshopped, right? I just thought I should share with you because these things, this type of rumors spread faster than actual knowledge about the snakes. Next, please. Now, when we do scientific identifying of snakes, scientific identification, what we do is a scale count, a scalation. In the term used is scalation, wherein all the scales on the animal's uh, head, we normally identify them. They are named, you know, like we have frontal, we have prefrontal, loreal, internasal, rostral, prenasal. So all this scales, they are on specific part of the head, and by doing the scale count we come to know if it is when we go to a species level, subspecies level, you know, all this thing is taken. But earlier, to identify snake, this scalation was done. They were using, like, even sometimes doctors used to ask you to the patient to get the dead snake, and then they used to sit and check the pupil, the which scale is where, you know. If it is not, if identifying by just looking at the major changes, phenotypic characters, is difficult. If the phenotypic characters in the snake is difficult, so they have to go to the scale count. Next, please. Now, this is again, earlier it was believed that venomous snakes have vertical pupil. Not all venomous snakes have vertical pupil. In this picture, this is a picture of a bamboo pit viper. Uh, the 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 main picture is of bamboo pit viper, if you see, and just between the nostril and the eye there is a pit which I was mentioning earlier. Okay, and in this four head shots, what I have shown here, lowermost is a bamboo pit viper. Then we have a cobra, which is again a venomous snake. You see the pupil is round in this, right? Whereas in bamboo pit viper, pupil is vertical, but it is poisonous. Poison is hematoxic in bamboo pit viper. So this has been proved that it's not the pupil which can tell you about poisonous and non-poisonous snake. You have to see all other parameters also. So I thought of showing this picture to you so that you understand it better. Next, please. Yeah. Now, if you see in this picture, we have a spectacle cobra. Uh, I'll come from the top. The Indian rat snake, that is devoured non-venomous snake there, right? Just below that is spectacle cobra. Now, if you see the head pattern of these two snakes, for a common man, they look same. Both have round pupils, right? But look at those markings which I was mentioning earlier. In rat snakes, you have those marking like a dentition on the lip, upper lip and lower lip. The demarcation between the scales is very clear, the black lines. But wherein cobra, that thing is not there, right? If you see closely, observe closely, then if you see that cunate scale which is there, very in cobra it is marked with the red line there. That's a differentiation how you can make out between rat snake and a cobra when you see a head. Of course, if it raises its hood, then the hood will be easy to, you know, it will enable you to identify it easily. But when you see a fast moving snake, or it is in a leaf litter, or in a crevice with just head out, this is how you can make out. In banded racer, which is again a non-venomous snake, which is not so big, if you see at the bottom, you see it resembles cobra there again, right? It resembles cobra, but look at the scales. Just behind the eye. All those scales are very tiny, very small scales, right? So this is how, if you get into finer details of it, identification is easy. You don't have to get scared of snakes. Next, please. This is a closer view just to show comparison between Russell's viper and a saw-scale viper, because this is like mostly encountered snakes, right? So both are poisonous or venomous. Uh, Saw-scale viper is very small, but it has got a distinct eye, right? Distinct eye, the big eye, and the head is very small, tiny. Next, please. How do we overcome this fear? You know, as a forest officer, I have been moving around for 20 years into the forest of Goa, part of Tamil Nadu, part of Karnataka. Just to share with you, we people sometimes when they interact with us, they ask questions. Are you not scared to go around the forest? Have you been attacked by a tiger or a leopard or a sloth bear? So, as a forest officer, as a field staff, we follow one thing which works in nature. That is respect. You give respect and get respect. Nature, it works. If you give respect to the animal there, we have encountered a leopard at a distance of just 2 meters when we are on a foot patrol. We have encountered a sloth bear at a distance of 10-15 meters from us on foot. Okay, early morning. Just give respect and get respect. It works in nature, right? Just to give you one tip, if you are moving around in a forest or in a settlement, and you come across animal, maybe a dog or a bull, sometimes wild animal, if you want to save yourself, if you don't want to get attacked or you don't want to challenge that animal, just don't look into the eyes. Stop looking into the eyes. When you stare in the eyes of an animal, even if it is a monkey, in animal language, that means a challenge. And when you challenge, they'll bound to attack you, right? So keep your eyes away from the animal. You can look at the animal through corner of your eyes, and the animal will just go away, right? So how do we overcome fear when we are thinking or watching a snake or whatever? The first thing is you should read. You should know. Knowledge is a very powerful weapon. You should know how snakes react, how snakes behave, right? Educate yourself and then educate others. Don't pass on the wrong information. You pass on the correct information. The safety of your safety, at the same time, the safety of people in your house, if you encounter a snake, and the safety of the animal also should be taken into mind. We have seen places wherein they've seen a snake in their house, in the garage. A person has gone inside, boiled the water and just splashed it on the snake. Very inhuman. Very inhuman. It has come in your because it has a food there to eat in the form of rats. Surroundings clean. There is no food for the animal to eat there. Snakes will not come into your area. Right? It is duty of every one of us to protect them. We should all protect them because they are our companion on this blue planet. Right? Now, evaluate. I say evaluate here. That's because we should know, if you encounter a snake in your house, we should know which likely places it will go and hide, where is the nearest exit for the animal. So all that evaluatory mechanism, if you develop, you can overcome fear of snakes. Keep the door open, take a long mop, make some vibration on the ground, snake will run away. And for that, you have to be very calm and cool. If you shout at top of your voice, snakes cannot hear you. They don't have ears. They don't have external ears to listen to your shout and screams. But if you make vibration on the ground, they can get it. Okay? If you stamp on the ground, snakes will keep away from your path, right? And we should develop a tolerance which we are losing day by day. We should have some tolerance. We have encroached into their area. They were there in this forest. When the area was forest, we have come with a settlement, we have come with the bungalows and gardens. So we have to learn to tolerate them, right? If there is a non-poisonous snake in your property, near your house, learn to respect it, tolerate it. Don't try to get rid of the animal. It is there with a purpose, right? And it's a part of the ecology. So you should respect and learn. It's very beautiful to see snakes. Next, please. I think I covered this part initially. Are they really dangerous? All snakes are not poisonous. More people die of road accidents than snake bite. Poison helps them to hunt and digest food. That is what is believed. It means people have a wrong notion. They feel that snakes carry poison to kill humans. No. Poison is a high protein, and snakes, poisonous snakes, they have a poison sac in which the poison is secreted and stored so that they can use it while hunting, and then that same thing helps them digest their prey. Because if you see snake, they bite, they hold their prey, they swallow it whole, they can't chew. Their jaws are not meant for chewing. They don't have that dentition, molar and premolars to cut their food into pieces. They just swallow whole thing. Once it is swallowed, the animal, the prey, whichever is swallowed, gets digested in 3-4 days, like that, depending on the size of the prey, and then it is absorbed by the body. These animals are cold-blooded. I think I just in this slide I just wrote about the cold-blooded nature of the animal. I forgot to type the remaining portion of it. What I wanted to say here was, it is believed that snakes chase, give a chase to people if they are cornered and all that, which is wrong. They are cold-blooded animals. They cannot regulate their body temperature. So when they cannot regulate their body temperature, they cannot do that, chasing you. Right? The body temperature is something, they are not like us. We can regulate our body temperature, right? Again, give respect and get respect. This works in nature. This works in nature. Okay, it's a tried and tested method. So snakes are not dangerous. Snakes are not dangerous. This is something which is happening in recent days. Well, when I started snake rescuing way back in 87, 88, we used to catch snakes, bag them, release them in wild places. But suddenly trend has come after National Animal Planet, Steve documentaries on Animal Planet, and people started doing these stunts. Now with YouTubes and WhatsApp, things are become increasing day by day. This is a wrong practice. Why you have to do it? That animal, as I told earlier, it may have salmonella on its body, right? And by doing this, what you are doing is, the person, so-called snake friend, what he is doing is taking that particular bacteria in its mouth, right? There are so many other zoonotic diseases which we don't know, right? So this is a wrong thing. Snake rescuing is not posing with snakes. I have seen people, catching king cobras, keeping them in the big barrels and bags at home, wherever they have facility to keep. And then next day they get dressed up very nicely, with proper gumboots and all, everything is staged. And then they stand with the king cobra. The photographer sits down to show that king cobra
Parab, I think we've lost you. Can't hear the audio. Can you hear me, Parab?
Is that the last slide? Venkat, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Sorry, we lost your audio. Parab, yeah.
Yeah, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just talking about the snake. Did you hear that about the commentary about that slide, earlier slide? Or
Yeah, about people getting to all kinds of stupid things.
yeah, wrong handling practices
Yes.
by some of the rescuers.
Yeah.
Now, what role does the snakes play in? Like many people ask us, like, why do we need snakes? Why do we need poisonous snakes in the nature? And why do we? What is the role? How do they benefit us? So let me tell you, the water you use for your day-to-day activities is because of these animals, right? And I again and again stress on in my talks that we should learn to look at the invisible linkages connecting different components of ecosystem to our life. You know, the water which comes from the spring is because of the forest, healthy forest. And to keep this healthy forest healthy, we need all these components which are there: snakes, lizards, tigers, leopards, elephants, deers, everything from mushrooms to mosses, everything is required. And they play a very important role in the ecology, right? If you see, we have stopped respecting this. And our ancestors who were not with degrees, they didn't go to any university, they didn't know this technology, they didn't go and spend time in the labs, but they respected this animals, they venerated these animals, they worshipped them. And if you see many places where there are springs, freshwater springs, there will be a small idol of a snake as a mark of respect, you know, a small statue carved out of on a rock. So many places in Western Ghat you see that. So that's a way of to respect that animal. The due respect was given, and they knew those invisible linkages between that resource and the animal, right? So you try to relate it, and you will get all those. It's so beautiful to understand uh, the interaction which is taking place between the animal and a plant and a resource. we feel we are very smart, very intelligent, but then we ignore this, linkages. Yesterday, I was in one webinar, I was just mentioning to some students that there is a very sophisticated communication which takes place between a bee, honeybee, and a flower. The electric impulse is generated by the plant, advertising that this flower has a nectar, and that impulse is picked up by the honeybee, and the honeybee gets attracted to that flower. This is a very beautiful communication which is there. And if there are people who are listening to me, they have so much of avenues. You can do so much of research in understanding this reptiles. How do they communicate? Like Venkat had asked me about the territory of a king cobra. There's so much research one can do. So much. We don't know so many things which is happening around us in forest in Western Ghats. So they have a very important role in the ecosystem, and we should all respect them. We should be thankful to all these components in nature, because the water what we drink is because of them. The climate wherein we are breathing now, with this COVID issues, you will agree with me. Like I've seen hospital bill of one of my friend, it's in lakhs of rupees. Ventilator charges, lakhs of rupees. We are breathing oxygen free of cost in nature. Trees provide us all that. The diatoms which are there, countless number, millions and millions in the sea, they give us free oxygen. But when we go to the hospital, we pay huge money just to get a good dose of oxygen, right? So please acknowledge, in whichever field you are, try to acknowledge the services, ecosystem services provided by nature. Yeah, next please. I think I've covered this. We go next. I think that's the last slide. If you want to, you can just go through this. This is one I was mentioning about a king cobra. Recently, what we have rescued, this female we had rescued, and we have in forest department we have designed this small carrying case with a glass and a mesh on top. When we release this animal, we take them in that, and so that there is minimum handling. There is minimum handling. She was so scared, she was traumatized, because we got her from one area and then we released her. So she was almost for 45 minutes, she was reluctant to come out. She was just observing. We kept the door open and she was just observing. God knows what was going on in her mind. We maintained a safe distance just to take some pictures, and then she just came out and walked off. She turned back, looked at us, which is like as if, I don't know whether she really meant it, say thank you, and then she vanished into the forest. So this was 8th king cobra this year. We had rescued in Bhagwan Mahavir National Park, adjacent areas, in the village areas. Next, please. Yeah, that's all I had in my presentation. This is again Dudhsagar River, very beautiful place. So thanks, Venkat. I'm very sorry for the technical hitch.
No problem.
Yeah, and those who are interested to see king cobra habitat, I can't assure you that I can show you king cobras in my forest, but if you come down to Bhagwan Mahavir National Park, I can definitely show you a beautiful king cobra habitat in the national park. And there are so many other things to see. Also, if you are lucky, you might come across hump-nosed pit vipers there, because we have good population of hump-nosed pit vipers there. In the entire presentation, I don't have. I did have this thing sea snake pictures, but I've not. I forgot to include it. That's one snake. That's one group of snakes which has got a poison which is altogether different. It's myotoxic, and they are very shy. Venkat maybe must have encountered so many of them in the
Oh,
during
yes.
diving.
Particularly the banded crates. Yeah, you've seen quite a lot of them. And again, like you were saying, Paresh, they are not dangerous. In fact, there was one which was almost 6 feet long, right,
Wow.
right next to my wife, and it was just swimming along
Ah,
with us, you know,
I see.
and no sign of aggression at all. And I filmed them. I filmed
Yeah.
them very, very close with a GoPro right in its face,
Yeah.
and it was not interested. It was just looking for its prey. It was hunting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's very, very important for people to know that particularly snakes, everybody's got a unrealistic fear of them, and that's why I felt that it was very important for you to do this webinar and let them know. There are quite a few people on this group actually who were expressing their fear. And I said, of course, I am also scared of snakes. Not that I'm not scared, but I think I respect them. I have come across them. I've in fact come across three or four I mean, all the four poisonous ones you mentioned, we have seen in our house in Nolauli, in our
Yeah.
garden, no, including Russell's viper, which had actually come after a rat. It had killed the rat and it ate the rat right in our garden. So it's an awesome sight. It was literally like being on National Geographic or whatever, but we kept a safe distance and we just watched. And the snake just ate and it left, then come back. So,
Yeah.
respect is very important. We see that even underwater, whenever we are near poisonous things, they have never attacked. I've been diving for 30 years. I've never been ever attacked by any animal underwater. You know, so that was very informative. Thank you very much. We do have a few
Thank.
questions.
Yeah.
So if you want, I'll read the questions for you and you can answer them. Karthik
Yeah.
is saying tracking snakes turns out to be very difficult. They're so conspicuous. It is impossible to spot them in the wild without knowing the proper technique. So can you tell us something about tracking the common snakes around their natural habitats?
Well, yeah, tracking snake is very difficult, very difficult. But what you should know is the habitat of the animal. When you once you know that which snakes you are looking out for, right? Once you know their habitat and you look into those areas, you can easily spot them. But then, for continuous monitoring, you have to use a technology. It's very difficult, very difficult. There was some research wherein they put radio transmitters in the python's body in a small capsules so that they can track down pythons. But for smaller snakes, it is very difficult. But in snakes like pit vipers, Malabar pit vipers, humpnose pit viper, they move within that much area. So spotting them is not very, tracking them and spotting and tracking them is not so difficult. But larger snakes like red snakes or king cobras, even for that matter, Froston's cat snakes, it's becoming difficult to track them.
Okay. Valanka has got a question. I have recently watched a video of a vicious fight between a black mamba and a mongoose. It was absolutely breathtaking. My question is, what is it that puts a mongoose on the trail of a snake?
Mongoose, she said.
Yes, attacking a black mamba.
It is normal for a. I don't have much experience about mamba, but I can tell you about cobras or red snakes for that matter. That's a favorite food for mongooses. Mongoose, be it a striped neck mongoose or a common mongoose, they feed on snakes, and they track down these animals. Mongoose, they track down them by smelling, by scent, you know, the pheromones left by the trail. When the snake moves, it leaves a pheromone on the ground, on the leaf litter, on the dust, and that's how they locate them. The fight, if you see, it's very interesting. Mongoose, somehow it is scared of those eye spot. It waits for snake to, if it is a cobra, it waits for snake to hit on the ground, and it retrieves and catches its head. just the neck portion, one bite. A lot of research is being done by Israel on the nervous structure of a mongoose. They say neurons, which is there in a mongoose, is not like other animal. It has a chemical in between neuron, each neuron. So that's how the neurotoxic poison is not affecting mongoose. That is what is being uh, uh, said, and they are doing a lot of research on that.
Okay, that's very interesting. I've seen mongoose quite a lot, but I didn't know about this particular aspect of it. Yeah. Anita asks, is it moving away from an alert or scared cobra makes them follow us as they are used to the swaying or land rattling movement?
Basically, when you come across a snake, if you even stand still, snake is not interested in you. It will get startled. It will give that reaction. It will, if it is a cobra, it will stand up, show its hood. If it is a rat snake also, they will just raise their hood, raise their head up, and it will go away, right? We have, in one incident, I was photographing wild dogs in Madai. I was sitting in between the rocks. I could see a snake coming. It climbed up on my shoes. It just looked at me. It could sense that this is not part of nature. I just remained motionless because the photograph was more important for me, and the snake just slithered away. So they are not interested in humans.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Parinita, I think she missed a little bit of the uh, of your presentation. She wants to know, where do you find a good number of hump nose pit vipers? You had mentioned
Yeah,
in your
the,
slide.
the best habitat is actually for hump-nosed pit viper is semi-evergreen forest and evergreen forest. And presently, the accessible semi-evergreen and evergreen forest is Bhagwan Mahavir National Park. Okay, so because in certain areas in Madai we do have very good forest where you have them hump-nosed pit vipers, but accessibility is not much. So Bhagwan Mahavir is accessible area
So we have
where
to
you can
come
spot
to
them.
we have to come to Paresh Purab's home to be able to see them, right? That's where you're based, correct,
So
Paresh?
yeah, yeah. Presently I'm based there.
Hmm.
Yeah, for a short time now.
Okay, okay. But are you going to be there for long term, or you're going to be shifted?
No, actually I'm promoted now, and most probably I'll be in the office most of the time now.
Oh no, you're away from your field work.
Field
Okay,
work, yeah.
okay. All right, Paresh, I think we've come to an end of the questions, and I think
Yeah,
it's getting a little late, so we'll have to sign off.
yeah,
Thank you
yes.
so much. I hope to meet you
Thank
in
you all.
person pretty soon with our
Yeah,
common friend Sangamitra. So we'll have to do a
yeah,
trip to one of the sanctuaries and see those
yeah,
beautiful animals in person. Yeah. Thank you
yeah,
very much for your time and your patience. And again, unfortunately, we couldn't help what happened with the
yeah,
Wi-Fi, etc. But anyway, we have all hung in there, and I think everybody's glad
yeah.
that they waited it out. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Good
Have a
night.
good evening, good night, and thank you to
Right.
SSI. Thanks to all the participants who have been very, very
Yeah.
patient and watch this through. Thank you. Good night.